to Vasquez.
Freshman clean, who's driving, floats it.
And here comes the message on the floor. With 2 seconds. Here it goes for the win.
What is up, Terps fans? Welcome into another Fear the Podcast. Still riding high after the Baba Alototun commitment. Just how can you not be with the number 3 recruiting class in the country? Jeff has had some great reporting on other potential recruits that may be in the works here, so I'm even more juiced. Buzz is hitting the recruiting trail big, so even if this year is not what we all want it to be for year 1 on the court, I think we've got some things to look up forward to next year. But hey, like they're still off to a reasonable start here. All things considered, assuming all the injuries, needed some Diggy Coit heroics to beat Mount St. Mary's in the next game, but a win is still a win, and you got to win ugly. Sometimes teams just get hot, and Mount St. Mary's drilled a bunch of threes, and hopefully they defend the 3 a little bit better in their next set of games here out in Vegas. So Maryland is heading out to the Players Era Festival in Vegas, 16 of the best programs in the country here, of which Maryland is one of them, thanks to our history, but also Buzz Williams' longstanding relationship with some of the tournament directors and things like that. So this is exciting. Maryland will be in it next year when the field expands to 32 teams. So it's kind of cool to get in here and get boots on the ground and see what it's all about before this thing becomes the preeminent multi-team event in college basketball. Maryland has 2 guaranteed opponents right off the bat. On Monday night, they will play against UNLV at 9:30 or 9 Eastern time. Let me actually pull that up and look so I don't lead you guys astray on the timing here. Let's see. Yeah, it's 9 Eastern time. Or sorry, midnight Eastern time, 9 Pacific time. I've got my times backward because I will be there in person. So if you're a Terp fan listening to this and you want to come hang out, hit me up, DM me or something on Twitter or X or whatever at Modderno. Happy to meet up with some Terps fans and grab a celebratory adult beverage or 2 once we hopefully beat UNLV in that first game. And then things get drastically tougher in the second game. Maryland's biggest test of the season will come against Gonzaga, who is undefeated right now, and to me is a guaranteed top 10 team. And I think when all things are said and done, will be like a fringe top 5 team. They're really, really good. We'll cover more of that here in a minute. And then Maryland will play a third game that is currently TBD based on the results of the first 2 games. It will either happen Wednesday or Thursday. So that remains to be seen. I will only be there for these first 2 guaranteed games, and then I'm going to be less of a degenerate and head home and have Thanksgiving with my family. So we'll see. Hopefully I get to see at least 1 win while I'm out there. Not going to be greedy and ask for 2, but going 1-1, just based on these 2 games on the schedule, beating UNLV is a must for this Maryland team. I think they haven't really beaten a quality opponent here yet. Marquette, that win looks less impressive every time they step on the basketball court. Obviously lose to Georgetown. UNLV, interesting, right? So they lose their first game of the season to Washington, who is a reasonable Big Ten team, 77-62. Then they go out and they get a win against Lincoln University. I don't even know what level that team is, but they win 123-59. I think that was an exhibition game, so it doesn't count. Then they lose a UT Martin, who is one of the mid-major darlings so far this season. They lose 86-81. They beat Chattanooga, who is legitimately a good mid-major team, 101-69. Then UNLV loses to Montana, 102-93, which I was a little surprised by, and they bounce back and beat Memphis 92-78. It's a Memphis team that gave Purdue a run for their money a couple nights ago, so beating them by double digits, pretty good win for this UNLV team. And then they follow that up by beating St. Joe's 99-85. St. Joe's to me is a middle-of-the-pack A10 team, and that was a pretty competitive game, so I don't really take much from any of these results other than they're just kind of like an up and down team, it looks like. Losing to UT Martin, no shame in that, but still should win that game if you're a UNLV level program. Beating the pants off Chattanooga is pretty good, but then you bounce back with a loss you follow that up with a loss to Montana. And like I said, the wins against Memphis and St. Joe's, they're coming in here on a winning streak. So if you're Maryland, I think you need all hands on deck. Like, you need bodies back. We talked about this in the last recap after the Mount St. Mary's game, but both Solomon Washington and Miles Rice were out of their boots. Neither of them played. Pharrell Payne was also just looked fully ready to go. I'm expecting him to play at some point in this tournament. Things get a little dicey if he doesn't play. But if you get all three guys back, I really like their chances against this UNLV squad. This is a pretty quality depth UNLV team. They do a couple things, I would say, pretty well from what I've seen. They're out rebounding teams by about 9 a game, which if you're Maryland, you don't want to lose the rebounding battle. They've been doing that more recently than I think anybody with the program would like, considering that's been the staple of what Buzz has tried to do the last handful of years. It's not a great shooting UNLV team, which is good for Maryland. We mentioned Mount St. Mary's is a pretty respectable shooting team, and they were more than that in that last game. But UNLV is 28% on the season so far, and they're allowing 33%. So Maryland has shot the ball a little better the last couple games. So if they can keep shooting the ball a little bit better, and UNLV continues to struggle, and Maryland can neutralize them on the boards, I really like this for the Terps. They do force about 14 turnovers a game. This has been a pretty turnover-prone Maryland team so far. And UNLV is getting 20 points per game just about, or 19.5 points per game off turnovers. So if you're Maryland, you just can't be sloppy with the ball in this one and expect to just march out of there with a win over the home team. I'm imagining UNLV maybe doesn't have this rabid fan base or whatever. I don't know. I'm actually looking forward to see what that looks like. But they are the home team, so I expect a good turnout for them. And so you're basically playing a home team, in their neck of the woods. This is a good test. This is basically a road game to start out here. So we'll see what the Terps bring. Just from a personnel perspective, couple names you need to know. Isaac Williamson has just been really good for UNLV so far this season. He's just a scorer. He's averaging 17 a game. He's the best three-point shooter on the team. Not crazy volume here. He's 7 of 15 on the season, which is 47% basically. Not a great rebounder. Doesn't pass the ball much or get many assists. He's only played in 3 of their games so far. Started 2 of them. So just maybe that quality drops off a little bit here against a Maryland team with some pretty good defensive guards. I would expect to see somebody like an Andre Mills maybe try to turn the water off there. Dre Gibbs Longhorn, who has spent some time at other major programs, so I think people are going to be pretty familiar with that name, just given that he's been around college basketball and has had a bunch of other stops. But he's having a great year so far for UNLV. Started all 5 games, averaging 16.2 points, about 3 rebounds. Just solid, 15 assists, which is second most on this team. So he's going to move the ball around. Not a particularly good shooter, so I think you can kind of sag off a little bit here. 26% from 3 so far. And Kamani Hamilton, who comes over from High Point, I saw him in person a couple years ago at the CBI finals. He looks like a Power 5 wing, probably 6'5"-ish, I would say, give or take. And I want to say started at Clemson, so it's a dude with some big basketball experience, averaging 14 points per game so far, 5.5 rebounds, decent amount of assists at 12, 7 steals. He's an okay shooter, 33% on really, really low volume, only 9 attempts. So, and maybe not a whole lot to fear from him from the 3-point line. Next up, they've got Howie Fleming averaging 11 a game, Nas Cunningham averaging 10 a game, and Tyron Jones averaging 10 a game, and then a handful of other guys just kind of in the mid-single digits. So right now, if you come into this game and you've got 6 guys averaging in double figures with another guy just behind that at about 9, there's some options here. So I think for Maryland, you're going to have to be locked in and know that there are multiple scoring threats who can have a pretty good game against you. But I do like Maryland's chances in this game. I've been pretty good about predicting these games here so far, so I think this is another Maryland win. Unfortunately, I think the game after that is likely a Maryland loss. I'm never counting our guys out here. Maybe they can make it a rock fight, and if Pharrell Payne's back, maybe match up a little bit better than I think. But that second game on Tuesday night is going to be really tough. This is, like I said, a really good Gonzaga team, and Mark Few, this might be his last real run at it, just considering he's been rumored to retire, or wanting to retire here in the next handful of years. This might be his last really good team and chance to go out with a bang. So I think they're on a mission this season. This is an old veteran Gonzaga team. That game is at 9:30 Eastern, so 6:30 Pacific, so a little more manageable for the East Coasters on Tuesday night. Hopefully, heading into a Thanksgiving week for folks. So hopefully you have that Wednesday off and you can actually stay up and watch this game. So far this season, just running through the results for Gonzaga, a game I watched, they played Texas Southern to start their season. They won 98-43. It's a Texas Southern team that wins their league a handful of times the last couple of years as a good lower major program. So they just beat the tar out of them. And then they beat Oklahoma 83-68. Yeah, Oklahoma's not that great this year, but it is a power conference team. So beating them by that many points says a lot. And then they just blew the doors off a ranked Creighton team at the time. They're not ranked now, but they won against Creighton 90-63. Like, I think that Creighton team is probably similar-ish to where Maryland's at in terms of overall talent. So that makes me a little nervous. Gonzaga a little slower out of the gates against Arizona State, 177-65. This is not a good Arizona team, so they kept the score low and made it kind of ugly and hung around. It was a home game for Arizona State, so that probably helped a little bit too with the environment. And then Gonzaga bounces back against Southern Utah and wins 122-50. So they can put it on teams. That was a home game for them too. So it's just something to pay attention to for this Maryland team. Like, this is a team that has not had a real test yet, and their closest game came again against a not very good Arizona State team. So maybe the Terps, can punch them in the mouth, come out, make a few shots early, and see if they can just hang around long enough to make this one competitive. So be interesting to follow. Again, this is a really good front court for Gonzaga. They're just deep there. I'll get into the actual personnel here in a minute, but just in terms of some of the key statistics, Gonzaga shooting 34% from three, holding opponents to 23.6%. So this is a really good three-point defense team. They're just long and athletic at a lot of positions, so that makes me a little nervous. They're out-rebounding teams by 15 a game, and they're putting up 46.5 rebounds per game, which is just crazy. I mentioned they're huge, so this is going to be a tough one for Maryland from that one. It's a real test for Buzz Williams to see if they've turned things around on that side of things here and really locked in. Gonzaga only 10 turnovers a game, so they don't turn the ball over a lot. They force 16.6, and they score 18.6 points off turnovers. So again, this is another game where Maryland can't afford to be sloppy with the ball, and they block a decent amount of shots too. So on paper, that one looks tough for me. The names to know for this one in the front court, it's Graham Ike. A healthy Pharrell Payne against Graham Ike would be a real popcorn matchup. He's got to be like 42 years old at this point, transferred in from Wyoming, where he was really good, and spent multiple seasons now at Gonzaga. He's averaging 17 and 9, essentially. Also making a decent amount of threes for a guy like that, front court staple, a post player. Only 4 of 9, which is still, again, pretty good for your center. Another guy to know is Brandon Huff. He's even bigger, or taller at least, than Graham Ike. Got real touch around the basket, averaging 14.8 and 5 rebounds. Essentially like either or, right? Like they can go dual post offense. This is a ball screen continuity heavy team, so they're going to run a lot of screens over and over again until they can get a good look. And then a name Maryland fans will know from last year's tournament run, Tyon Grant Foster, who was really, really good 2 years ago for Grand Canyon. Not quite as good last year because of some injuries. And it's just been really solid for Gonzaga so far this year. 11 points, 6.2 rebounds. Not shooting the ball particularly well, but doesn't need to. He's making 15% of his threes on, again, pretty low volume here. Then you've got Adam Miller coming in, another dude that's been around college basketball for literally forever. He's one of the shooters on this team. Only made 9 of 27, so it's a third of his shots have gone in so far this season, but he's averaging 11 points per game. Next up is Davis Vogel, a freshman coming in, only played in 3 of their games, averaging 10 a game. Italian point guard Mario Saint-Superi, really good moving the ball here, averaging 9.8 points. He's got 20 assists on the season through 5 games, so 4 assists per game, pretty good. And it's just interesting. Like they talk about him on the broadcast like he's a scoring guard overall, but I think he makes some incredible passes. And he's like more of a traditional point guard in my mind, which they don't seem to view him that way, from their broadcast team. So I thought that was interesting. But I would expect him to make a few flashy, like, whoa, WTF passes that you see. Jalen Worley is another guy. He doesn't start for them, but he will play a lot of minutes. He's playing 21 a game right now, so expect to see a good amount of him. He's only averaging 8.2 points, but 5.8 rebounds. Another guy, 11 assists, which was pretty good for essentially a 6'8" wing. He's like a point forward, I would say, like kind of a poor man's version of like the way Ben Simmons played basketball when Ben Simmons still liked playing basketball. So just picture that mentally. Emmanuel Innocente is pretty good for them. Steele Venters can come in. He can probably shoot it. These are a lot of veteran guys. The guy that everyone thought would be like their star point guard, maybe not star, but replacement for Ryan Nembhard was Braden Smith. No, not that Braden Smith. It's the other Braden Smith that came in after redshirting. Comes in from Colgate, redshirts last year for Gonzaga, and is finally playing this year. He started 4 of their 5 games, just not shooting the ball well at all for them. 35% from the field, 20% from 3. Not even, I mean, he's the leading assist guy on the team with 23 assists, but the playmaking's not been crazy, but he's a good defensive point guard at the very least, I think. Hasn't played anyone crazy good yet, but this is a deep team for Gonzaga. They got a bunch of dudes who can score, a bunch of dudes who can defend. They've got size on the perimeter. I think the lineup I'm most worried about them rolling out is EK, Huff, Grant Foster. I would say probably Jalen Worley because he just gives you more size and athleticism. And then probably somebody like a Saint Supri or an Adam Miller even to just come out and provide a little bit of shooting. So this is a dangerous team, and I fear them. I'll be just straight up with you. But again, if you're Maryland, even if you lose this one and you can just hang tough, it would be good for your metrics, which sounds like a loser mentality. I hope the Terps can go out and win it. If they can be fully healthy, gives them a much better chance to do that. And actually, I'm glad they play Gonzaga in the second game, because if you do get Miles Rice back, you do get Solomon Washington back, you do get Pharrell Payne back, it is nice to have one game under your belt together, at least, just to figure some things out on the court. This team has played a lot together for Gonzaga, and a lot of these guys are getting heavy minutes together so far. So there's a lot of like familiarity and as much continuity as you get in college basketball these days. So for Maryland, having just a few minutes together under your belt, I think would be huge. But we'll cover it all for you. I'm going to have recaps from Vegas for both of these games. Hopefully we just see good basketball and Maryland starts to turn into the team I think we thought they could be coming into this year if they'd had all their pieces. And I just want to see this team continue to not give up. And there's a lot of fight in them. Like, it's a different guy. Like, we saw a bunch of dudes step up in the Marquette game. Obviously, the heroics from Diddy Coit the other night. I hope we don't need 41 points from him again. I'm also really curious if everyone is back, what the starting lineup for Maryland actually looks like. And I think there's some options there. So it'll be pretty interesting. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll play it by ear, and hopefully they get a third opponent that provides them with a winnable game as well. And it'd be nice to walk out of there 2-1 at a minimum would be incredible. And but 1-2 is a must for this Terps team to just kind of keep any kind of momentum going here, I think, after an overtime win and your big recruitment. So like I said, stay tuned. We'll keep you all up to date on all those things. If you can hit that like button for us, if you're watching on YouTube, we really appreciate that stuff. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do that. You'll get a notification every time one of these episodes premieres. We're going to start doing some of these live after the game so you guys can interact and provide some feedback, just schedule-wise and stuff like that. And while we're figuring things out with the live recaps at the game, I thought that might be a little too much early in the season, but we'll get those going for you. So thanks for staying locked in with us. And remember, fear the podcast.